Today's lesson is topic 5.5, transforming exponential functions. Remember, our exponential function is f of x equals a times b to the x power. So if we're given a parent equation like f of x equals 2 to the x, remember that the graph of an exponential function is a curve. So f of x equals 2 to the x looks like a curve with a y-intercept of 1. One of our translations is to go left or right. That's a horizontal translation. In order to translate a function left or right, we're going to connect something to the x in the exponent. Okay, not at the end of the equation, with the x in the exponent. Now our convention is x minus h. So we have to remember that's our convention, x minus h. So what is it we're subtracting? So f of x equals 2 to the x minus 4. That's x minus 4. So 4 is the value that we are putting into this exponent. And so this graph translates to the right 4 units. And so that whole graph would move 4 units to the right. If I had f of x equals 2 to the x plus 3, for our convention x minus h, that would be like x minus negative 3. And since that's a negative 3, that would translate the graph to the left 3. Now a vertical translation is translating the graph up or down. To create a vertical translation, we add or subtract something to the end of the equation. So not in the exponent, but at the end of the equation. F of x equals a times b to the x plus k. And so this convention is plus. So here's our graph again of f of x equals 2 to the x. And now if we put f of x equals 2 to the x plus 5, that is translating the graph up 5 units because we've added a positive amount. So we've moved the whole graph up 5 units. If I had f of x equals 2 to the x minus 7, then that would translate the graph down 7. So putting this all together into one equation, we have f of x equals a times b to the x minus h plus k. So remember, it's x minus h and plus k. What's attached to the x moves it left to right. What's at the end moves it up or down. So given the function f of x equals 5 to the x minus 7 plus 11, how does that translate the parent graph f of x equals 5 to the x? That translates the graph right 7 and up 11. Now, we haven't put in an a value. An a value is for another lesson, to stretch, compress, or reflect. So that's it for 5.5. And now that's all of our review lessons for the year. Woohoo!